It's actually happening as we have multiple huge reports that have just dropped surrounding the Steelers' pursuit of one head coach's folks. Things just got very real, and it has fans very fired up. It'll break down these new reports as well as discuss a ton of other updates surrounding their head coaching search and some free agency stuff to go over on this episode today. But folks, it just got very real surrounding one candidate that is not only the perfect fit, but changes the landscape of this team going forward. Ton to go over on this episode, but a very quick thank you for all your guys' support. You guys have been absolutely unbelievable with it. Folks, there's a lot to go over today, and of course, all eyes now are on the Steelers' next head coach, their pursuit, and of course, even some other teams as the Rams, of course, advanced yesterday. But we can see here, now, this was, of course, following the Rams' overtime win against the Bears yesterday from Pittsburgh Steelers. But I want to start with this before I dive into the reports. We will wait for you, demons. Steelers fans are clamoring, begging for Chris Schula. I'm going to break down some reasons why, but there is some interesting tidbits, including a new report, some rumors revealing that this seems the most likely outcome here for the Pittsburgh Steelers' next head coach. And man, would he be the perfect fit for this team? And I'll dive into a brand new report that just dropped. But before we get into it, a quick reminder, this video is brought to you by Kalshi, folks. And if you download it using the link below and enter code DIGESTNFL, you'll get $20 when you trade your first 100. And Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States. We're on their platform. You can trade yes or no on real life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much everything. And whether you're in California, Texas, or anywhere else across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. And for us sports fans out there, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And you can see right now, Chris Schula, at the time of recording, has a 60% chance to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, which means if you trade $100 on yes, and Chris Schula does end up being the coach, you will win $167, folks. It's genuinely a smarter way to use your sports and news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want, so make sure to download it with the link down below and use code DIGESTNFL to get your $20 bonus. And thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. Now, folks, kind of getting back into the news here, it almost involves Kalshi to a degree, and you can see the chart here. There are odds makers, and the odds are, at least at this point, that the next head coach is going to be Chris Schula. This was as high today as, I think, 81%, and things are getting very, very real. Now, we do have some information on how his other interviews went. You can see here from Albert Breer, a notable reporter. Rams defensive coordinator Chris Schula wound up doing 5 head coaching interviews. The Steelers, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Cardinals. He'd gotten 7 requests, and the 3 Rams assistants, including Nathan Scheelhaas, Mike LaFleur, and Chris Schula, did a total of 11 interviews, which means a couple things. One, Chris Schula denied a couple teams. There's some speculation about it being the Browns and things like that after firing Kevin Stefanski, who now is going to be the head coach of the Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons. But this is crucial because the Steelers are still very much so in the mix for him. But you could see here, all of a sudden, the updated odds, and this is according to, other sports books, minus 200, Chris Schula is, and he jumped up pretty heavily here. Now, second is Brian Flores. Mike McCarthy, sadly, is third, but also Sean McDermott, who was just fired this morning from the Buffalo Bills, is also a part of this conversation now, which, of course, we'll have videos on and things like that. But this is extremely notable because this had fans saying somebody knows something, and there's been a lot of rumblings about people who, again, fake reporters maybe, rumbling the grapevine, some rumblings about, hey, Chris Schula's already agreed to a deal with the Steelers, just waiting for the season to end. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that's why I was kind of hoping the Rams would lose, so that way this could kind of get underway here. But Chris Schula seems to be the odds-on favorite. Now, you look at kind of the way Kalshi's market has been looking, and again, right now it's 60%, but you can see earlier today it was as high as, I think, 81 or 82%. Go check out the Kalshi website down below, and you can look at your own chart for yourself there. But it is a it's very likely now, and it got very real very quickly surrounding Chris Schula. And there was times, you can see here, 86% chance earlier today or yesterday rather, at 11 p.m. that Chris Schula was going to be a part of the Steelers. Now, again, part of this is the Rams game, all that was happening, but it is very notable. And Chris Schula is an unbelievable head coach. Now, there's a lot of rumblings as well about Mike McCarthy. Sadly, I don't really want Mike McCarthy personally at all. I would much prefer literally anyone else. But there's a lot of ties with Mike McCarthy to Omar Khan, to, of course, even Mike Tomlin to a degree, the Steelers assistant GM as well. I think this is more, hey, we'll put your name out there in a report, so that way when you go looking for future head coaching jobs, you can say you are part of the finalists for the Steelers head coaching job. I think that's all it is. I think it's just due diligence and also helping out a friend of the organization. And Omar Khan, of course, is helping out his friend and Mike McCarthy, his good friend, rather. I don't think it's anything beyond that. I would be flabbergasted if they hire Mike McCarthy. That being said, you never really know with this team, right? Like anything is kind of possible here, but the odds are in favor of Chris Schula. And man, would he be fantastic. We saw what that Rams defense did. The bottom paid defense, or one of the bottom paid defenses in the NFL, took care of business against the Bears. Yes, it was in overtime. It was a bit of a crazy game. Not a super well coached game by Sean McVay, and he actually admitted that afterwards. But it was a greatly coached game by, of course, Chris Schula, and of course Nathan Schula, who was kind of auditioning to be a head coach for the Steelers, potentially the offensive coordinator if they want to go back together. It is really good, especially because of the fact that the other teams in there, some of them are good, like the Ravens, obviously, but the other teams, like the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Cardinals, not super exciting. You have Ashton Genty and you have Brock Bowers over there at the Raiders. But something else to note is that the Steelers have actually scheduled a second in-person interview with the Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. He interviewed virtually over the weekend. He's the third candidate to reportedly receive an in-person interview, and I believe also Chris Schula is one of them. Keep an eye out for Anthony Weaver. He's a guy that's kind of going under the radar a little bit, not super high up on many of the odds. You can see here he's plus 900. It is a very interesting scenario as well. I'm not as high on Anthony Weaver, though a lot of players respect him. Obviously, you can see here Steelers schedule a second interview with ex-Ravens defensive end. He's played football before. I don't hate it. And you look at this chart from Steelers draft, and this is kind of where I'm at here. You can see, so he has actually Anthony Weaver at 8, which might be a little bit hard. I'd much rather Anthony Weaver or Evero compared to Mike McCarthy. But Chris Schula 1, Brian Flores 2, Nathan Schilhaas 3, Clay Kubiak 4, and Jesse Minter 5. That top 5 I tend to agree with. I would maybe even, you could change Brian Flores and Nathan Schilhaas. I think Clay Kubiak goes underrated because of his brother Clint Kubiak. We've seen now, like, Clay has a ton of respect across the organization, clearly the Steelers organization, but not only that, other organizations as well, especially obviously the 49ers. But I don't hate this, and Chris Schula is the number one for a lot of fans, no matter who you really look at. And one of the reasons why, you can see here, shout out to Adam Miller for this on Twitter, doing morning reading on some Steelers head coaching candidates, and this jumped out about Chris Schula. If Tomlin consulted at all, I'd bet he'd have an appreciation for Schula. Last summer, Morris was watching film on opposing defenses to get ideas for his own, and midway through picking apart Shula's pressure packages, Mike Tomlin called him, who was also reviewing Shula's defense, and of course, Tomlin seeks out inspiration, and Schula gave him some. He's doing some good stuff. I thought that was just the ultimate compliment when your friend is watching your other friend and they're getting ideas from each other. There's ties here beyond just what we know on the surface. I thought this was a very interesting tweet and some information that no one's really talking about that I think you guys would appreciate. But at the end of the day here, this team has a lot of work to do, right? Both when it comes to their next quarterback, all the different things. I think Chris Schula as head coach with Nathan Schilhaas as the OC would be the dream scenario for me. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are absolute peace. We'll see you later.